for playlist suggestions, questions to other playlist suggestions, and playlist suggestions. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel and to today's video, where I'm going to be doing a little bit of a chatty get ready with me sort of thing. I'm actually going to be answering a lot of questions that one subscriber asked. Back when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I gave the opportunity for people to ask me anything that they wanted to, both on Instagram and here on YouTube. And part of my 1,000 subscriber video was me answering those questions. Well, one of my subscribers didn't see that post until after I had already filmed the video, but she asked a whole slew of really great questions, and I decided to dedicate an entire video to just answering what she wanted to know. So this is for Kat. I am starting with a lip product. This is the Glow Reviver Lip Oil from e.l.f. The shade is Pink Quartz, and my lips feel dry, so. This is a palette that I went back and forth on just a ton. It's the first palette I bought this year. This is the Betty Boop palette from Glamlight, technically called Boop Oop a Dupe. And the reason that I waited so long was because it looks so red because of this red inner packaging. If you see this swatched out, you realize it's not a red palette. It only has two red tones right here. Besides that, we have pink leaning fuchsias and berry colors. There's a black. These over here are more neutral with something that almost leans a little orange. This shimmer here is like a peachy champagne. There's a black shimmer. And this one up here, blue, purple, pink shimmer. It's not red. So the packaging throws me off so much, and I don't know why on earth they didn't choose black, because it absolutely would have worked with the theme. By the way, look at this cool lenticular effect. I love good packaging. But that's the thing. I have come to find that I really do appreciate the packaging, and it makes a difference for me when it comes to the experience. So I held off on this one for ages. But every single time I see a look that's done with this palette, I go, oh, that's nice. I've heard that the quality is tip-top Glamlight formula, and I got it for $15. I think it's worth it. And I do have a plan. If it bothers me to use it as is, I'm planning on taking some black construction paper, cutting out holes with an X-Acto knife, and then lightly taping over top so that visually I see these shades against a black background. And that I think will help me feel more creative because I'm not associating them all with red. Anyway, today I do actually want to play with these neutral tones. So I probably won't go over here at all, except for the black. I think I'll stay on this side of things. Let's talk about these questions that Kat asked. I legitimately feel like I should have looked at these more ahead of time because some of them are really good. And I don't know if I'll be able to answer them on the fly. Also, a couple of these actually might make really good conversation topics if I put them in my community tab as just a question for my viewers, and then we could talk about all the responses in a subsequent video. So we'll see how many I can get through while I do this. My eyes have been primed with the Glamlight Icing Primer in the shade Buttercream. Everything I'm using is linked in the description box. Kat's first question: if you could live anywhere, where would it be and what would it look like? Country setting, city, suburb, different country. Okay, that I can do on the fly. So I'm going to start with the shade Wink and Giggle. And if you hear wind in the background, that's the weather today. Okay, if I could live anywhere, what would it be? And then what would the setting be? If we're talking country, like countries outside of the United States, I think I would start with Italy. I don't know that I agree with the politics, but we'll just pretend that all else being equal, you know. Politics are messy no matter where you are. But I love Italy, and I used to live in a little town called Siena, which is in Tuscany, and it was just beautiful there. This brush is not right. I'm going in with something a little looser and fluffier. This is a Blend Bunny B1. Anyway, if it were another country, I would say Italy. And as far as a setting in Italy, probably a country setting with cypress trees and a little town. That's where I lived when I was there, and I did tour the cities, but I've preferred the slower pace of a quieter country life. If I were in the US, I think I would choose, like, have you ever seen Murder, She Wrote? The little seaside town where Angela Lansbury's character lives. It's just a little quiet town in Maine, maybe? It's big enough that you can get what you need. It's small enough that you know your neighbors. And I love to be on the sea. I love to be on the seaside. I love the sound and the smell and the air, fresh fish. I like the idea of going shopping every day for my produce instead of big grocery trips. That's a really nice match. That like softened and blended beautifully. I brought it over here a bit more, but not fully to the inner corner. I just wanted to get a little smoky over here, but that's really nice. I am gonna deepen now with a bit tighter and still pretty loose though. This is the Singe Beauty EO5. Did I answer that question fully? If it were outside of the US, I would say country setting in Italy somewhere where I could practice my language and I could live a bit of a slower, quieter life. And if it were within the US, probably a small seaside town where things are just a little bit more old-fashioned and again, quieter. That sounds nice. Another question Kat asked was, if you could live in any time, when would you choose if it couldn't be present day? And this one I think requires more thought than I've given it, as do several questions here. This is the shade Little Black Dress. It is, unsurprisingly, the black matte in the palette. It's hard to say because I think we're so accustomed to the way that we live now. It's easy to look back and think, oh, that's probably great, but with our mind set on still having the conveniences of today. But of course, if you actually lived in the Victorian times or Jane Austen's era, the Regency period or anything like that, we wouldn't have what we're used to now. And in a lot of ways, life was a lot harder. Yes, maybe it was simpler or slower, but that of course depends on your class, doesn't it? Depends on if you were we'll take the Regency period, for example. If you were the daughter of a gentleman, my life would be quite different than if I were the daughter of maybe a gentleman who had married below his station, or the daughter of a working class family. They don't have a manor. In fact, they are servants at the manor. Their life is quite different. I mean, today we have lower, middle, upper class, of course, but a lot of the things that each of our classes experience are still quite similar. I think there's less of a gap than there was a long time ago. There are a lot of other considerations that might impact my answer. I could say, well, the clothes of this period, the men's outfits or styles and fashions of this period, and the cultural expectations of that period from this class system, it would be a bit of a smorgasbord, I think. If money wasn't an issue, where would your perfect vacation be to? At this point, I really, really want to go to Ireland. I mean, if money weren't an issue, or I'd go all over the place. I don't want to go to Australia. Everything in Australia will try to kill you, and I'm not interested in that. I don't like creepy crawlies, I don't like spiders, I don't like huge snakes. I don't want to go to Australia. These shadows are nice. I feel like currently it looks like I got punched. But let's add some shimmer and see what we can do about that. I'm gonna grab Power and Pearls. This is the shimmer. A friend of mine on Instagram, she uses this all the time, and it looks amazing. Like, she uses it and oh yes, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, money being no issue, where would we go? I think I'd start with Ireland. I would love to do tours all over the place, just all over the place. And if I were to start in Ireland, of course it would be Ireland and also Scotland. I'm bringing this shimmer higher than I usually do. It's really pretty. It's really nice. Like, that's a nice, yeah, that's pretty. I think that's where I would start. Ireland and Scotland, Wales. I get to hear the accents, get to see the green everywhere, and I like rain, so that's fine too. Ocean bluffs and breakers hundreds of feet below you and dramatic, moody skies. Oh, yes. I would start there. And then, of course, money being no object, I might just carry on from there and see what lies ahead. Now, that is not the answer that my husband would give you, for the record. So we might have to have a conversation about that. Kate asked, what is your favorite animal? Not necessarily a pet type animal. My favorite animal. I do love dogs and horses, and I know they're also pets, but I genuinely do really like dogs and horses. Horses are a lot to maintain, and that might be where she's coming from when she says not necessarily a pet. Like, don't worry about the work required, just animals. But still, I like dogs and horses. I think that hedgehogs are very, very cute. They're outrageous little creatures, but they're so cute. Now I'm taking classy chic. Why did I say clearly? Classy chic is this beautiful, ooh, it's got some orange in it, like an orange peach champagne. And I'm gonna put that here. I think hedgehogs are super cute. Ridiculous, absurd little critters, but they're cute as can be. And I also like owls. Now, I don't necessarily find myself drawn to owls when it comes to seeing them at the zoo or owning one as a pet even. or even having any interaction with owls. I just think that they're pretty, and I like owl decor, which might not in any way answer the question, but there you go. Other than eyeshadow, what is your next favorite makeup product? I remember doing this actually in a video a little while ago. It took me way too long to find this brush. I'm gonna grab the shade Boop Love with a small blending brush and put this on my lash, can't speak, put this on my lower lash line. Ooh, that is a nice shade. Wow, that's a little unexpected. See what I'm talking about with this red packaging? It's infuriating. In the palette, it looks almost mauve, like a red leaning mauve. But on the eye, at least with my skin tones and undertones, it has, again, a little flash of a peachy orange tone as maybe the undertone. Or it's kind of a strawberry peach kind of color. Ooh, I don't know, but it's pretty. It ended up being a good match for this shimmer. I lost my train of thought. I had done a video talking about favorite makeup products. Obviously mine is eyeshadow, but other than eyeshadow, in that video, I think I said lip stuff. If I'm not wearing any makeup, I might put on a bold or a heavy matte lip. And now, I might say blush. I've come to enjoy blush. Not a ton. I'm actually wearing blush right now. Just a little bit. I just like a flush on the cheek. And I think that has something to do with, as I'm getting older, my coloring is changing. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror yesterday and I was like, whoa. Like my hair is lightening, my skin is getting a little more pale, my face is getting a little bit older, more worn. I'm watching myself age, you know, as all of us do. And I think that a flash of blush makes me feel a bit sprightly, a little bit more awake. So I think I've been enjoying that more than I expected, and definitely more than I used to. I never used to care at all about blush, or half the time even wear blush, even if I did my eyeshadow. This is a clean brush. There's a question on here that actually really had me stumped. If you could have a conversation with anyone, past or present, who would it be and what would you want to talk about? That one would require me to think on it for a while. Although I do think that the answer to that question may depend a lot on what season of life I'm in, or even maybe even what hobby is most engaging me at the moment. If I am really into music on that day, then maybe I would want to talk to a composer from the past. Or if I were feeling really artistic, I was just in an artsy mood, this is Little Black Dress again, then perhaps my answer would be Rembrandt. If I were feeling quite scholarly, I might give you the name of a historian or a biblical character. And yeah, so I might put that in my community tab. I think it would be really fascinating to hear your responses, and then Kat could get the benefit of having all of these different answers, and that of course might inform my own answer, because I'd be like, oh yeah, so-and-so. If you could pick a number for the perfect amount of children, how many would that be? Money and space not being an issue. Well, we've got 3 and they're wonderful. Hang on, I gotta blend this in a little bit more, and then I need an inner corner highlight. For my inner corner, I'm gonna grab the shade Pudgy, which is that white shimmer. Okay, we have 3 children and they're wonderful. We have a big age gap between number 1 and number 2. It's 9 years. And then between number 2 and number 3, it's less than 2 years. But I think if I could have said so from the beginning and kind of control their ages a little bit, like, okay, we're going to have all their kids within 10 years and they're all in similar stages at similar times and everyone's sort of growing up together, instead of having almost 2 generations of kids, which is what the Lord gave us, and that's fine. Not complaining, it's actually awesome, because my oldest is becoming really mature and responsible, and that's good for her. And I'll have kind of a built-in babysitter. But at the very beginning, if I could have said, I probably would have had to have 1 and realize how great it is. And then I think the number 5 is floating around in my mind. Like 5 sounds like enough, but not too much, but not too little. Like there's a nice assortment of children and friends for them to play with, and fun to have together, and sweet times like bedtimes and bath times and all the, you know, the number 5 is in my head. I don't know. Into the shade Pudgy. I'm using a brush just to see. Oh, ooh, that's nice. Oh, that's picking up nicely. I did bring that initial matte too far over here. It's too dark. I shouldn't have done that. Again, especially as I age, and I need to be more careful about pretty much this point in. but that is, ooh, that was too much. Oh my, hang on. Woo. That was me diving like a beast into the shade because I was so busy talking. Nice though. I'll put a little up here to brighten this up too. Kat's next question is a good one. Do you allow, I mean, they're all good ones. These are great questions. Do you allow or will allow your children access to social media? And if so, what age do you feel it would be appropriate? No. My oldest, who is she's gonna be 13. She has just an email account. And even that is fully monitored. She knows that I go on and check it now and then. She's a great kid, but there's just, you know, it's just good to have oversight for all of us. We all need oversight in our lives because even adults struggle with things. But no, for my younger two kids, it's currently a non-issue. They are 3 and 2. No social media. The more I see, the more I recognize this is really problematic. Again, even for fully functioning, relatively well-rounded, mature adults, it's a problem for us. And it's, again, the longer social media is a thing and the more you learn about it, you can see what it's doing to the kids who do have it, their brains and their development, considerations like bullying, the way that it's happening these days, where it was just not a thing. Not like that when I was a kid. And there's something psychological and odd about what social media does. I mean, think about the like button, how satisfying it is to see that little like, oh, somebody liked my picture or my video or my comment or my post or whatever. And on Instagram, it's the love button. Like there are or the heart, you know, there are so many times that I've wanted to like a post on Instagram, but liking it's not an option. I have to hit the heart. And I'm like, but I don't love it. But that's the only way to show my appreciation. It feels like all or nothing. And I know that that's very in my own head. I don't heart it, I just thumbs up it. But the point is, it's a little rush of happy juice in our brains when we get that little like, or when we see our follower count grow, or when we see our friends count grow, or oh, so-and-so sent me a friend request. And it's also, there's a lot of potential, as everybody knows. There's potential for abuse and danger because you don't know who's really on the other side of that computer screen. So, and kids don't have that discernment to recognize, oh, maybe this stranger who came up as a friend request is not actually the 13-year-old girl I think they are. Maybe there's something more sinister at play. They don't recognize that. And no. At this point, I'm probably pretty set on when my daughter is an adult and I have done all I can to raise her well, then she can make her own decision as far as social media. Now, if we don't wait until she's fully 18, it would probably still be at the very least 16. But even then, I mean, I know a lot of really mature 16-year-olds, and I'm not sure if they're ready for unfettered social media access. It's kind of terrifying out there. And even a lot of adults have problems with cyberbullying and stuff. And what does that do to us when, again, we're relatively well-balanced individuals? I can't imagine doing that to a kid whose brain is literally still developing. Trying to figure out who they are and is seeking approval and seeking to fit in. It just feels like a recipe for disaster. Kat's got so many great questions in here. If you could change one thing in your life, what would it be? This one did require a little bit of thought. I'm getting some patchiness here, but I don't think it's the shadow because I did not get any of that here. I think it might be, maybe I didn't apply my primer as evenly on this side. If I could change one thing in my life, what would it be?
2,000 years later.
At this point, I might say personal discipline, time management, self-control, things like that. Yeah, that blended out really nicely. I think that I would say personal discipline. It's something I struggle with for time management, for making sure that I do the things that I really need to do instead of doing the things that I want to do. You know, like filming is great and it's a nice hobby and it's good for me to release like this, but sometimes, and not always, and I have gotten better at this over the last year, sometimes I film when I should do the dishes, or I film when I should do bookkeeping for my business, you know? And there's some stuff, like I could be running a load of laundry while I film. That's fine. If there's nothing super pressing on my time, then I can film and it's okay. But there have been times where I have prioritized what I want to do, and the things that really need to be done fall lower than they should. I mean, I'm not the best housekeeper. I could go clean my bathrooms. So I think that I would probably change discipline in my own life. And fortunately, that is something that I can change. Working on it, 2025 is going a little better on the whole, I think, than 2024 in that arena. So, I mean, I'll do what I can. Ooh, Kat asked, what is your greatest fear? I think my greatest fear, outside of my children's spiritual well-being, is that something would happen to them physically. You know, that there would be abuse or, I mean, I don't want to dwell on it. I think every parent out there knows what I'm trying to say. Like, that something happens to my kid. More so than something happening to me. Now, it's one thing if something happens to me and I'm not able to care for my kids. That's upsetting too. But we have a great network around us that would step in and do the best that they could do to love and support our family well. But if something happened to my kid, I think that would be harder. You know, there's a lot in the world that can be frightening. But at the same time, there's a lot of beauty in the world too. And that's what it's good to be aware of what's dangerous and to take precautions, but you can't live in fear. So while I'm afraid of something happening to my kids, I'm not gonna keep them locked in the house all day. I'm not going to keep them from doing things, you know, going places with their friends and spreading their own wings and becoming independent, because I'm not raising children, I'm raising adults. And my job is to make them aware of the dangers and give them a good foundation so that hopefully they're wise enough to avoid putting themselves in precarious positions or situations. It's never a guarantee, and nobody else's actions are ever a guarantee. But I'm not going to dwell on my fears either, because that would paralyze me. What is your favorite color, food, movie, TV show, restaurant, entertainment type? Well, that should take a hot minute. Favorite color, green. Favorite food? I think as far as cuisine, I would say Italian. And I do love pasta, but even if I'm trying to avoid processed carbs, I just like Italian food in general. I like Mediterranean food with lots of fish and fresh ingredients. I love French baking. Yeah. Movie, favorite movie? She asked movie, TV show, restaurant, and entertainment type. I like lots of movies. As far as like a movie genre, maybe, I really like war movies and, you know, sports teams that have an underdog story. And I don't care about sports, but I like the movies. Costume flicks, like historically accurate, you know. I like the 1997 version of Pride and Prejudice. I think it's 97, the one with Colin Firth and Jennifer Aniston. TV show? With my husband, I watch Frasier, The Office, and Parks and Rec, and we just have a rotation. But myself, if I'm on YouTube or Amazon Prime, I'm gonna find myself usually watching British television, like The Crown or Downton Abbey. I like those. I like murder mysteries. Again, have a lot of British murder mysteries that I've enjoyed. My favorite murder mystery would be the Poirot series with David Suchet. Epic. Absolutely legendary. But I do like a lot of British TV, and they do drama really well. They do drama really, really well. Restaurant, I like Cabela's. They have an insalata caprese, which is delicious. That's tomatoes and buffalo mozzarella. And when you like burst open this huge round ball of cheese, more cheese comes out of the center. It's drizzled with olive oil and so good. So I like Carrabba's. I like the chicken gnocchi soup at Olive Garden. In entertainment style, I like theater. Not necessarily, like I like musical theater, but I like theater in general. I like to go to the theater, to the symphony, to the opera, to the play. I like live theater. I don't get much of that although I've had a little bit more in the last couple of years, but I think that might be my favorite in that category. Kat's last question was, if you could go back and give yourself advice, what would it be and at what age? I think this is another one that I need to ponder for a while. I don't know. The first thing that sprung to mind were some big mistakes I made in my younger years. And at that time I thought, well, it would have been nice to hear that you're not defined by your mistakes, but they can shape who you become, for better or for worse. Now, I certainly don't feel that I'm defined by my mistakes, but in the moment, it might have been nice to hear that. I don't know. That one's hard. I might put that in the community tab as well. That would be a really interesting thing to hear the advice that people would give their earlier selves. I need to put on some mascara. I forgot mascara. So yeah, I think I might put that in my community tab. That one sounds like it could generate some really cool and engaging conversation. And then again, Kat and I get to hear what other people have to say. I put black in my waterline, but only in the outer half or so where that black shadow is. The rest I left bare because I thought it worked with the color that I had in my lower lash line. So that's it, I think. I think those are all of Kat's questions. 2 probably will end up in community tab at some point because I would love to hear how you guys would answer these questions. They are so good. Kat, thank you so much for giving me all of this great content. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to just throw out all these different questions. There were some real thought-provoking questions, and I am grateful that you asked them because it was fun for me to reflect on that stuff too. Be sure to check my description box, guys, for playlist suggestions and what I used in today's video. I appreciate you so much for being here. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing if you want to. And first impressions rather on this palette. Quality, really, really nice. Undertones were actually surprising because of that red packaging. You know, you go and you dip into a color and you're like, oh wait, that's not what I was expecting. It's because of the red packaging. It is slightly maddening. But I knew that the quality was being so well reviewed, and I like the color story when I see it swatched out because it's actually pretty cute and it's not red heavy. And this one is the one that I was most excited to play with. You can see that on most of my lid space because there's something about it. It's like a black shimmer, but it's not a very heavy black shimmer. It's very lightweight, kind of like a sparkly night sky. So you can pair it with tons of different things and get just a beautiful sparkly result. The quality is very nice. So I'm glad I have it. I might have to tweak the packaging a bit to make me not annoyed by it. But yeah, it's been a good time. So thank you for being here. I do have a glam light playlist. I'll put that in the description box. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you. Bye.